السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأصلي وأسلم على من بعثه الله رحمة للعالمين وقدوة للعاملين ومحجة للسالكين، وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد، يا من يرى ما في الضمير ويسمع، أنت المعد لكل ما يتوقع، يا من يرجى لشدائد كلها، يا من إليه المشتكى والمفزع، يا من خزائن رزقه في قوله كن، أمن فإن الخير عندك أجمع، ما لي سوى إليك فقري وسيلة، فبالافتقار إليك فقري أدفع، ما لي سوى قرع لبابك حيلة، فلئن رددت فأي باب أقرع، وما الذي أدعو وأهتف باسمه، إن كان فضلك عن فقيرك يمنع، حاش لمجدك أن تقنط عاسيا، الفضل أجزل والمواهب أوسع. إخواني في الله, we are continuing with our lecture series regarding the death and the grave. Tonight's topic, Ikhwani Fillah, we shall look at when the life is taken from one of us and our soul is separated from our body. That is what is the definition of death. Death is the separation of the soul from the body. What is the journey that this soul takes after it is separated from the body by the angel of death? This is our topic for tonight, inshallah. Ikhwani Fillah, the Prophet ﷺ, one day, as mentioned by Al-Bara ibn Azib radiyallahu anhu, that he went in Medina, in the city of Medina, for a janazah for one of the men from the Ansar. And this man was not yet buried. And the Prophet ﷺ was seated facing the Qibla. And he had a stick that he was writing on the ground. Then he looks to the Muslims, and the Muslims are quiet, completely quiet. كَأَنَّ عَلَى رُؤُوسِهِمْ طَيْرٌ. It is as if a bird was able to even balance on the head. How quiet and immobile they were. So the Prophet ﷺ, he says to the Muslims, إِسْتَعِيذُوا مِنْ عَذَابِ الْقَبْرِ. Seek protection from Allah from the punishment of the grave. He repeats this twice. He says, seek protection from Allah from the punishment of the grave. Then he says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. Oh Allah, I ask your protection from the punishment of the grave. He repeats this 3 times. Then he starts mentioning his famous words, as narrated by Al-Bara ibn Azib. He says, Inna al-abd al-mu'min إذا كان في انقطاع من الدنيا وإقبال للآخرة. When a servant of Allah is leaving this world and going to the hereafter, نزل إليه ملائكة من السماء بيض الوجوه. Angels from the heaven, they descend to this man, and their faces are bright as the sun. فيجيء ملك الموت عليه السلام. Then the angel of death عليه السلام, he comes to this believer, to this righteous person. فَيَجْلِسُ عِنْدَ رَأْسِهِ. He sits near the head of this believer. He sits next to his head. فَيَقول, the angel of death, he says, أُخْرُجِي إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٍ. He says, أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الطَّيِّبَةِ أَيَّتُهَا النَّفْسُ الْمُطْمَئِنَّةِ أُخْرُجِي إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٍ. O good soul, O excellent soul, come out to the mercy of your Lord and His pleasure. قال عليه الصلاة والسلام فتخرج كما تخرج فتسيل كما تسيل القطرة من في السقاء. He says it comes out so easily, the soul of the believer, like a drop of water coming out of a bottle. فيأخذها فلا يدعها. He takes it, the angel of death, and he does not leave it. He keeps it in the shroud that comes from Jannah, and he perfumes it from the perfumes of Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, توفتهم رسلنا وهم لا يفرطون. Our messengers will take the souls and they will not fail in this endeavor. So the soul of the believer has been taken by the Malakul Maut, and it's been kept in the kafan from Akfan al-Jannah. It is kept from that shroud, from the shrouds of Jannah, and it is perfumed from the perfumes of Jannah. Then this soul starts its journey, Ikhwani Fillah. Your soul, after it has been taken by the Malakul Maut, it starts its journey towards the heavens. Every time it passes a group of angels, the angels they ask, ما هذه الروح الطيبة? What is this excellent soul? What is this soul that smells so nice, better than any perfume that is found on the face of earth? فيقولون هو فلان ابن فلان بأحسن أسمائه التي كانوا يسمونه في الدنيا. They say this is Fulan, the son of so and so, and they mention the best names that this man or this woman was called in this dunya. فيقولون, they make so much dua for that person, and this person goes out to the heavens, and every angel in the heavens says, come, oh Allah, let this soul come and enter from the heavens from my side, from my gate, the gate that I've been given in charge of. Let this soul come through my side. And every time the soul comes, they ask, what is this excellent soul that told Fulan ibn Fulan, this is so and so. They say, udkhuli hamidatan wabshiri birawh wa rayhan wa rabbun ghayru ghadban. They say, the angels to this man, udkhuli hamidatan, enter in peace, in happiness, do not fear anything, and get the glad tidings of the smell of Jannah, of the blessings of Jannah, and the Lord who is not angry with you. So this man, he crosses the first heaven, and the angels, they're making dua for him. They call him the best of names, and the angels in the first heaven, they escort him. They want the honor of escorting such a beautiful soul. So they go up with him, ikhwani fillah, to the second heaven, and they ask the angels, who is this soul? And they make dua for him. They go to the third heaven, the fourth heaven, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh, which is the last heaven. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala meets with this person who's died. And He says to the angels, "Uktubu kitab abdi fi illiyin." Write the book of my servants in the illiyin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا عِلِّيُّونَ كِتَابٌ مَرْقُومٌ يَشْهَدُهُ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ. And returning back to the earth, فَمِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاهُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُهُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُهُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. Return them back to the earth. We created them from the soil, and we shall return them back to the soil, and we shall resurrect them on the day that they shall be resurrected. So this soul is returned back to the grave, and the soul returns back to the body. Then two angels, they come, very scary angels, and they come and they sit this man up in the grave, and they ask him the following questions. Man Rabbuk? Who is your Lord? The believer says, Rabbi Allah, my Lord is Allah. Question number 2, Ma Dinuk? What is your religion? He says, my religion is the religion of Islam. Third question, ماذا تقول في هذا الرجل الذي بعث فيكم? What are you saying about this man that was sent to you? Say, Huwa Rasulullah, he is the messenger of Allah. He's asked the fourth question, Ma amaluk? What are the deeds you did? Once you got this knowledge, you have to act upon this knowledge. Knowledge is there to be acted upon. What are your deeds? He says, I recited the book of Allah, and I believed in it, and I acted upon it. And a caller calls from the heaven, and sadaqa abdi, my servant has spoken the truth. So open for him the doors to Jannah. And his grave is made as wide as the eye can see. His grave is made so bright and as wide as you can see. And is given a gate to Jannah. And from the gate of Jannah he can get the smell and the blessings and some of the things from Jannah. وَأَفْرِشُوا لَهُ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ. And give him from the beddings or the carpets of Jannah. And give him from everything from the blessings of Jannah. At least he gets a sample of Jannah. Then a man comes to this person in the grave. A very handsome man. A very beautiful man. And he greets this dead person. The dead person says, your face is a face that comes with excellent news. Your face is such an excellent face. Who are you? He says, Ana amaluka, I am your good deeds. And I testify that there was no act of obedience that was decreed by Allah Azza wa Jal except that you are quick in performing it. And there was no thing that was haram except that you are not approaching it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees that this man in this grave shall get from the blessings of Jannah, and from the smells of Jannah, and from the khairat of Jannah. And he says, Ya Rabbi, ajjil qiyam sa'a. Oh my Lord, make the day of judgment come immediately. Make the day of judgment come immediately. This is the state of a believing man, of a righteous soul, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed in this world to say La ilaha illallah and to die upon that state. May Allah make us all amongst them. The opposite of that, ikhwani fillah, is the evil soul. So the malakul maut also comes with the angels. And these angels are ghiladun shidad. They are angry, they are severe. Sudul wujuh, they have black faces. حتى يجيء ملك الموت عليه السلام, until the angel of death, ملك الموت عليه السلام, he comes. فيجلس عند رأسه, he sits next to the head of this disbeliever, this munafiq, this kafir. فيقول, he says, أيتها النفس الخبيثة, أيتها النفس الخبيثة, اخرجي إلى غضب من الله وسخطه. Come out to the anger of Allah and his curses and his anger. فتفرق في جسد, the soul starts running around the body. The angel removes it so violently, like the way you remove a fork from wool that is wet. You remove it so violently that his nerves and his veins and many of his body organs, they get destroyed as a result. Then this soul, the angel of death, does not leave it for a moment. He keeps it in a sackcloth. And this person comes out with the worst smell. Even the worst of dead animals, dead corpses, do not smell as bad as this person. So this man is taken to the heavens. But every time the angels, they feel that smell, they ask, ما هذه الروح الخبيثة? What is this evil scent? What is this evil soul? They say, فلان ابن فلان بأقبح أسمائه التي كانوا يسمونها في الدنيا. They say, this is so and so, with the worst name that they used to mention with him in dunya. Until he comes to the heavens. And they asked, please let us enter the heavens. Let us go through the heavens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا تفتح لهم أبواب السماء ولا يدخلون الجنة حتى يلج الجمل في سم الخياط. They shall not be open for the heavens. They shall never enter Jannah until a camel can go through the of a needle. What's that called? The eye of the needle. A camel will never be able to enter the eye of a needle, the same way this kuffar, this munafiqeen, this mushrikun, these people who disobeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall never enter Jannah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will command the angels, uktubuhu fi sijjin, write his record in sijjin and return him to the earth. We created him from the earth, we will return him back, and from it we shall resurrect him. So that soul is not returned per se to the earth. It is thrown from the heavens to the grave, back to his body. Then the angels, the two angels, Munkar and Nakir, they come. فَيُجْلِسَانِهِ, they sit him up. They ask him, Man Rabbuk, who is your Lord? They say, La adri. He says, I do not know. He says, Ma dinuk, what is your religion? He says, Ma adri, I do not know. He says, ماذا تقول في هذا الرجل الذي بعث فيكم? What do you say about this man who was sent to you? He says, لا أدري. He says, Muhammad, you don't know about Muhammad? He says, I had people talking about him, but I know nothing about him. He says, لا دريت ولا تلوت. You will never know and you shall never recite. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the caller to call from the heavens, and كذب عبدي, that my servant has lived the life of a lie. So open for him from the gates of hellfire. And from the gates of hellfire, the heat of Jahannam comes to that person in the grave. And the poisonous smells from Jahannam comes to this man in his grave. And the grave is made so tight for this man until his ribs collapse. And a man comes to him, a very ugly man, smelly man, wears the ugliest of clothes. He comes to him and says, the dead person, who are you? Your face is a face that comes with evil. Your face is not a good face. Who are you? He says, I am your deeds. This is what you prepared for the hereafter. I am your bad deeds. I bear witness that there was no time a good deed you were called to do, you were very slow in doing it. And there was no time an evil deed was presented to you except you are the fastest to do it. For you is the gate of Jahannam. For you is the gate of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has written for you the punishment of Jahannam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَقَالُوا إِنْ هَذَا إِلَّا سِحْرٌ مُبِينٌ أَإِذَا مِتْنَا وَكُنَّا تُرَابًا وَعِظَامًا أَإِنَّا لَمَبْعُوثُونَ أَوْ آبَاؤُنَا الْأَوَّلُونَ قُلْ نَعَمْ وَأَنْتُمْ دَاخِرُونَ فإنما هي زجرة واحدة فإذا هم ينظرون وقالوا يا ويلنا هذا يوم الدين هذا يوم الفصل الذي كنتم به تكذبون احشروا الذين ظلموا وأزواجهم وما كانوا يعبدون من دون الله فاهدوهم إلى صراط الجحيم وقفوهم إنهم مسؤولون ما لكم لا تناصرون. So إخواني في الله, this is the journey of the soul from the time it is separated from its body and it goes to the heavens, and the soul of the believer is granted access until it meets Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Ikhwani, from some of the scholars have mentioned that some of the people, Allah meets them, Allah laughs at them, Allah smiles at them, Allah is happy with them. Hatta the Prophet ﷺ was smiling when he was narrating such hadith of a servant of Allah, that Allah is happy with them. And that soul returns back to earth and it's honored in the grave. And on the day of judgment is given more honor and its Jannah is raised even higher. And the other soul is the soul of an evil man. It does not even cross from Sama ad-Dunya. It is not allowed even entrance to cross from the Sama ad-Dunya. And it's thrown back violently to the grave. And it's asked the questions in the grave. And it fails every single question. And that person is destroyed for eternity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all حسن الخاتمة. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول وعمل. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.